Hello, 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 everybody. I am Leah Wilson-Felis. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to do a practice that is focused on the hips, the low back, the legs, quads, hamstrings, maybe even some calves. But the whole body is connected, so we will include everything, the upper body as well, in some of those lower body movements. And so I have today a really nice mudra or hand position to share with you. And it's very simple, so it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. It's the gesture of wind. And if you're outside, you might be feeling a little bit of a breeze like I am. But this refers to the winds of your body. And we carry the wind through our body with our breath. So for this mudra, all that you do is you take your index finger, your pointer finger, and you curl it down as far as you can into your hand. And then just take your thumb and smush it down. So it's basically like you're saying okay, but you really want to smush that index finger down into your hand so that you've got a real connection happening down there. Both hands are going to do the same thing. So keep in mind, if you've got any arthritis in your knuckles or your wrists and this hurts, then do it a little bit looser. It doesn't need to be so intense. So you get to choose the kind of pressure that you use. And so we're activating the Vayu in our body, or the wind. And so feel free to just let that rest, feel free to hold it up, feel free to bring the three fingers together if you'd like. It creates a different mudra, but it creates some connection between the right side body and the left side body, the right side brain and the left side brain. And so we've got these three extra fingers held up. And today I'm going to intend that those three fingers represent the triple burner inside of you. There's these three chambers that we have inside of our torso. In acupressure, they call it San Jiao, which means triple burner. And so you can imagine your first burner, it goes from your pelvic bone to your belly button. So you've got this lower chamber. And then we have a middle chamber from your belly button to your ribs. So that's your second chamber. It's just that middle aspect of your belly. And then your upper chamber, your upper burner, if you will, is from the ribs to the collarbones. So some of you might remember this from being in class and doing the three-part breath. And so that's what we're going to begin with. So if you'd like, you can hold the mudra. And as we breathe in, you want to first fill the lower burner, and then the middle burner, and then, if you can, really bring that breath into the upper burner, and then we're going to slowly let it all out. So let's slowly breathe in, fill your lower belly, fill your ribs, and then fill the chest all the way to the brim, and slowly let it all out, exhaling. A couple more like that, breathing in, filling the lower belly, ribs, and chest, and then exhaling all of it out completely, lowering the breath down, emptying the burners, breathing in, lifting the breath up through the burners like you're filling them up, and as you exhale, empty the burners back down into the lower aspect. A couple more times, just on your own, breathing in, filling up just like a cup that fills from the bottom to the brim. And as you exhale, you pour it out from the brim to the bottom. Bringing your awareness and your breath to your chest, to your lungs, to your ribs. Each inhale fills you up completely. Each exhale allows you to empty out and start fresh. Now when we cool down from our practice a bit later, we'll be doing an oppositional breath. So keep in mind right now we are filling up all 3 chambers and then letting go and emptying all 3 chambers. We'll try to remember this style of 3-part breathing throughout our entire practice today, so I'll be reminding you often. So let's start to make some wind around us. Expand your hands out, wiggle your fingers out. With an inhale, let's start to reach the hands up to the sky. And as you exhale, float your hands back down towards your knees, like you're fanning the air out in front of you. Inhaling to lift up and exhaling to float back down. One more like that, simple, out in front. Exhaling back to the knees, back to the lap. Let's take our arms out wide to the side so that our arms do a different range of motion. Inhaling to lift the arms up overhead. Exhaling to drop the hands back down, grounding through all 10 fingertips. Let's try that again. Inhaling, arms abducting, arms adducting, back to the sides. One more, just like that, noticing if there's any restriction in your movement here. Beautiful. Start to work into our hips. So we're going to do that with our lower spine, adding a gentle twist. So if your legs don't look like mine, it's totally okay. You can have your legs straight out ahead of you if you'd like. We'll ground again through our fingertips. And then we'll take our right hand and just swing it over to the left knee or thigh. Left hand will come to the mat behind you. We want to sit up nice and tall with our shoulders dropped down so that they're not hugged up by our ears. And then begin to add a little pressure, looking over the shoulder, past your left shoulder. Inhale, lift up like you're filling up a wash rag with warm water. And with the exhale, wring it out. One more, just like that, starting to just bring movement into your low back. Nothing that hurts, my friends. Now let's switch it and bring it to the other side. Left hand comes to the outside of the right knee or thigh. Right hand slips out to ground to the mat behind you. Inhale, sit up tall. Exhale, drop the shoulders. More breathing. Inhale here, and as you exhale, add the twist. 2 more breaths just like that. Inhaling to fill up. Exhale to wring it out. Going back to center, just unwinding that left arm back. We're going to start to go into some side sways. So if your legs are uncomfortable like this, feel free to extend them out. Or just crisscross them the other way so that the other leg's on top, so that each side has a little bit of a chance to get stretched. From here, right hand is going to ground down. Left hand swings out. We're working with range of motion of this left arm. So just reaching it up until you feel it stop. And then if you want to continue further, softening into the right elbow. 2 more breaths. Remember to move the wind within you. So breathing in and filling up. Breathing out, emptying out. 1 more breath. Inhale and bring yourself back to center. Ground through your fingers. If you need to switch your legs, you have my permission. We'll drop through that left hand and work with the range of motion of the right. So just bringing that right arm up and over until it doesn't go any farther. No pain. If you'd like to kind of edge into that pose a bit more, you can soften the left elbow. Make sure your right sit bone stays rooted. Let's take 2 more breaths. With an inhale, bring that right arm back up and pull yourself back to center. Alright, so let's start into our legs a little bit. Let's take our right leg and extend it out. So I'm going to turn to an angle so that I don't have my foot right in the camera. So I've got my left knee at a figure 4 and my right leg is straight out. You can stack your hands and slide them to your knee, slide them to your shin, slide them to your ankle or your foot. My common go-to is a big sweep out with the arms up to the sky and then folding over the leg. So there's multiple ways to enter the same posture. You just have to find kind of what works for your body. So try your best to bow your head. Reach your forehead down for your right knee. Reach the very crown of your head towards your toes. And see if you can relax your shoulders. And so if you're at your toes and your shoulders can't relax, maybe you need to back up to your ankles so that they can relax. One last breath right here in the posture. Awesome, awesome work. Now we'll slide back up to center. And what we're going to do now is bring the stretch into the inner thigh. So you want to take your left foot and separate it. And you might have to adjust your hips a little bit. So now your left foot is lined up with the midline of your body and the right leg is slightly out off to the side. Again, we're going to just do the same thing where we're reaching down the right leg with our right arm. Left hand reaches out straight to the side so that your arms are kind of teed out. And then if you'd like to, you can continue over so that we're still doing a side sway, but we're also getting the right inner thigh to stretch here too. So if you'd like, you can let your head relax to the right. Maybe glance up underneath your left armpit. And make sure your breath is fluid so that you're always moving the wind within you, the Vayu. One more deep breath in the pose. And with your next inhale, fan yourself up. Back to center. Got a little ant on me. Alright, from here, we're going to be moving into the thigh, outer thigh. And so all I'm going to ask you to do is, if it's in your practice, to crisscross your right leg in front. So I know that I'm very flexible, I practice yoga a lot, so do not compare your posture to the way that I look. Really just do what is available for you. And if you need to, if your knees are a little bit more lifted like this, it's okay. You can bring blocks or blankets rolled up underneath your knees to support you. So even if your legs aren't flat out, that's okay. We're working towards that goal. We just want to make sure that our right leg is in front or stacked on top. So we're working on the right side. Let's swing our hands forward. That might be your pose. If you'd like to go a bit more, you can start to walk your hands forward towards the top of your mat. Some people are very flexible here, so you might be able to kind of round over in that pose. For some of you, staying right in front of your feet might be enough. Now I feel a stretch right in the side of my right hip, kind of along the outer edge and a little bit through the thigh. The goal is to feel it in the hip, in the thigh. We don't want to feel it in the knee. So if you feel it in the knee, you might have to bolster that knee up so that it's supported. Now as we're working into our low back today, we're going to start to engage into the waist. So I want you to tent your fingertips just so that all 10 fingers are grounded. Wrists are lifted. And we're going to start to walk our hands out off the mat, maybe towards the left. We're going to go both sides, so if you go right first, it's okay. You'll just go next to the left. So I'm reaching out to the left. My hands are still grounded, tented. And then I'm going to start to pick up my right hand and extend, like someone is reaching for my hand and going to help pick and reach for me and start to kind of extend through this whole right side. So you're reaching for someone to help stretch you. One more breath here. And let's release. And we'll do the same thing. So I'm crisscrossing my hands. They're just crisscrossing as I go over to the right. Over the right knee. Fingers can ground or they can stay tented. That's your choice. And again, from here, let's pick up our left hand like someone off the camera here is reaching for me, and I'm gonna say thanks. I'll take an extra little stretch. I'll reach for their hand and breathe a little deeper. And then we'll drop it back down to the ground and walk the hands, crisscrossing them back onto the yoga mat. Let's bring ourselves all the way back up. Alright, so now we've worked a little bit of thigh, a little bit of hip. I'm going to work the outer leg next. So let's come back to kind of an original position, straight legs out here. Keep your left leg straight, right knee will bend. And if you like, your right leg can cross over top. Now, advanced yogis, feel free to lean out to the left and curl that left leg underneath you. The thing is that if your right sit bone is now lifted off the ground, you're not rooted, you're not balanced. So we really need both sit bones to be rooted. So if that's not possible, it's okay to keep your left leg straight. So they're both the same, they're just a little bit different. So I'm going to curl my leg under, and then what we want to do, we're focusing on the right leg. So no matter what your left leg's doing, right leg, we're going to hug it and see how my right foot lifts up off the ground. So now I'm getting a really big stretch through my right thigh, a little bit into the glute there. So again, you just kind of have to find the right angles and the right stretches for you and your body. You can see I'm kind of wiggling the leg in the joint here. Some people don't like that wiggle, so it might not work for your body or your hip. It might hurt the joint. And so anything that hurts, we want to release. We don't want to do that. Now let's try just a different angle. So if you've been practicing me, you know about leg baby. So we kind of cradle our leg like a baby, and so it doesn't have to look like that. You could grab your foot and your knee. If you have long arms like me, maybe you can actually cradle your leg, and we're just going to rock it around. It's like a seated pigeon posture. Nice. So you feel that really deep in the hip and in the thigh. Again, if you feel it in your knee, it might just be better to have more flexion in the knee. Let's go into our twist here. We're going to drop our right foot down. If it meets the ground, that's great. If it hovers, that's okay too. Hug onto that right knee with the left arm, opposite arm, so that you're twisting to the right. Right hand can drop down to the mat to support you. Some people like to bring their palms together. See how my arms are around my leg. And then some people bring their palms together with their left elbow on the outside of the right thigh. So that would be probably your most advanced twist in this position. It's called Ardha Matsyendrasana, which means half Lord of the Fishes pose. I'm not sure why. Now let's start to just unwind. So take your hands apart, reach your left hand over to the left, right hand over to the left, and give yourself a push-up. Maybe more than one if it feels good. Great work. So we're going to unwind the legs completely. Wiggle them out a little bit. Window wipers. This right leg feels a lot longer now. Let's do it all on the left side so that we can lengthen both legs equally. So I'm going to take my left leg and kick it out. And I'm going to bend my right knee. So you want to come into a Janu Sirshasana, adjusting your hips so that you're facing straight to your left foot. You can either slide down your leg, or you can sweep up first and then fold over the leg. So that's your choice. If you're not quite at your foot, feel free to use your ankle, your calf, your knee. So it really doesn't matter how long your arms are. All that matters is that you're feeling lengthening behind the left thigh. We'll bow the head down. And maybe if you need, movement is always welcome. Let's try to remember the 3-part breath, even while we're here. So as we inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. One more like that in the pose. Beautiful work. Alright, so hamstring has started to initiate our stretch. We'll come on up to center. All we're going to do is either slide your left foot out or separate your right foot from your left thigh. They're the same, we just have to figure out what works best for your body. So what I did is I just slid my left foot out a little bit more. So now there's space between my right foot and my left thigh. I have some students who like to block that off with an actual block to make sure that that space is maintained. So now we're going to be doing a side body stretch. Reach your left hand down your left leg. Reach your right hand straight out. From there, slide down that left leg a little bit more and reach your right hand up and maybe over. You might see how my left shoulder is kind of lifted up, so I'm going to relax and lean to the left just a bit more. Look up under your right armpit, see what you can feel. I feel it in my left inner thigh and my right side body. Last full breath, belly, ribs, chest, chest, ribs, belly. As you inhale and fill up, bring yourself back to center. Great work. Alright, so from here, we're going to take this leg and just crisscross it in front. So if you're like, that's really hard and my knees don't like that, then you might get those knees lifted up, or send your feet farther from your body so that your knees are still kind of bent, but your legs aren't so folded up into you. So you can send those feet as far out as you want. You just always want your left foot in front of your right. Alright, so wherever you might be in that Sukhasana pose, that cross-legged seated, we're going to bring our hands right in front of us. For you, this might be a stretch. You might feel it in your hips, knees, thighs. We don't want to feel it in our knees, but I'll tell you how to change that. So we got to just first find end feel. So for some of us, it's right here. For some of you, you can walk forward towards the top of your mat. You want to feel tension be created. Tension means stretching. It means that the muscles are pulling against each other. So you want to feel that in your thigh or in your hip. If you start to feel it in your left knee, then you might need to lift those knees up and get them away from the ground so that you can lean into your hip joints. So just, excuse me, finding that spot where you feel a good stretch. And a stretch should be maybe a little uncomfortable. No pain though. We don't want to experience pain in yoga. When we experience pain, it's usually our nervous system saying things like, I'm overloaded and please back off, or stop. So if your body's saying no, then make sure you listen to it. Now let's tent up. Get your fingertips tented. And we're going to go to the right first. So start to walk your hands out off the mat to the right. I'm going to take my right hand and sweep it straight out off to the side. And then the left hand will pivot up and over. We've already done this pose, but we're going to do something called scrubbing. As you inhale, open your chest. As you exhale, round over. I feel this happening in my waist. So we're scrubbing out the waist. Inhaling to open the chest. Exhaling to round. One more like that. Drop your left hand, crisscross the hands through center, on the mat, off the mat, over to the left. Over your left knee. We'll sweep our left hand straight out to the left, and then the right hand will pivot up overhead. Beautiful, yeah. With an inhale, open your chest. And with an exhale, round over like someone's reaching for your hand and pulling on you. Inhale, open the chest, scrub out your right side waist. Exhale and round over. Last one like that. Drop that left hand down. Crisscross the hands back to center, forward fold, and back to seated. All right, so our next pose is half Lord of the Fishes. So let's extend our legs out, give our knees a little bit of a break, wiggle those babies out. All right, so for this side, your right leg will stay straight, your left knee will bend. And then we'll cross the left leg over top the right. So this is more of the beginner version, and it's a perfect version of the pose. You can pick your left knee into your chest, picking your foot up off the ground, increasing the stretch. Now if you want to come into more of like a pretzel pose and it's in your practice, really kind of wound up into yourself, then lean out to the right and bend that right knee. You're going to come into the more intermediate aspect of this pose. So if there's any pain in the knee or the right ankle, your left sit bone does not meet the floor, then it might just be better for you to extend your right leg out. No shame in that, they're both the same, just a little different. Wherever you are, just pick that knee up into your chest, let it stretch, relax your shoulders, sit up tall, fill your belly, fill your ribs, fill your chest, and then release, pour out your chest, your ribs, and your belly. Now since we tried that other angle on the other side, let's do it on this one too. So if you didn't, you might not, but if you want to try this little open angle knee, I call it leg baby, but it's a seated pigeon, then you can start to kind of grasp onto that foot or grasp onto that whole leg and rock it out. Notice how my knee is more in a right angle than with that acute angle here. So they're both correct. They're just different variations. Same, but different, as we say. Let's bring that left foot down to the outside, and if it hovers, that's okay. If it grounds, great. And we're going to start to hug onto our left leg with our right arm. Left hand can come to the mat behind you. That's the pose. If you'd like to take it further, the hands can come up together so that you're maintaining the twist. And if you'd like to take it to the advanced version, then you can pick your hands up and switch so that your right elbow is on the outside of your left thigh. Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes pose. We'll start to unwind from here, bringing the right hand over to the right and the left hand over to the right and giving ourselves a push-up or two. Or three if you like them. And then we'll start to unwind, and we'll unwind our legs too. Alright, so again, I don't want my feet to be in your face, so I'm gonna sit to the side and we'll lengthen our legs out completely. Now while we're in this pose, it's called Dandasana, which means staff position. So you want to feel like a walking staff that's like being jammed into the ground. So walking staffs don't usually round, they're pretty tall. So let's sweep our arms out and up and overhead, just like a staff. And then you can start to round over, reaching for your ankles, your shins, your toes, your knees, wherever you happen to be today. Maybe you can reach onto those toes. Maybe that's a bit too much and the ankles are better. Now we're going to do some cat and cow while we're here. So with an inhale, open your chest, drop your shoulders. With an exhale, round your back, look down. Inhale, chest open, shoulders drop. Exhale and round your back. Last one like that. Alright, we're going to roll back up to center, seated. And next up, we're going to start to work the quads, which are on top of the thigh. So I'm going to do this from a kneeling position. So grab some water, we're going to transition to tabletop position. How I do that is I swing my legs around into like a deer posture, and then I start to hoist myself up, hands and knees. All right. So first, before we get deep into the quads, let's just do a little traditional cow and cat. So drop the belly into cow, lift the tailbone, push through the hands, look forward. That's cow pose. The opposite is cat, rounding the back, tucking the tailbone, looking back at your thighs. Let's try that again. Inhale for cow. And exhale for cat. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. All right. So from here, let's take our right leg and we're going to kick it up into the sky. And straighten your leg and bend your leg. Straighten it and bend it. One more, straighten, bend, turn your knee out. Big circle. Draw your leg down, let it hover, kick it back, turn your knee out. These are hip circles. One more. Dropping that knee down. Come on up to a kneeling position. This is my easiest way to get into a lunge. So I'm just going to kind of step my right foot forward as quickly as I can. It might need a little help. So now we're in a low lunge position. And we are going to be stretching the left thigh. So from here, we'll start to ease into that. Hands on the right knee, and we'll start to lunge into that position. 2 more breaths. Inhaling belly, ribs, chest. Exhaling chest, ribs, belly. Inhaling belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. Inhale, hands to your heart. Exhale, maybe lunging deeper. I can really feel it down on that left thigh. Let's back the weight up completely so that we're back into a neutral position. Sweep those arms out, or maybe up if they like that. If not, out to the side is okay. And then we'll begin to lunge last time on this side before we get a little bit deeper. Rotation of the spine. Hands come to heart center. The left elbow is going to come onto the top of the right knee. So this could be your twist. You could add more tension by pressing the palms together. See how my elbows went from soft to straight? That's how you create tension for your chest to open. Last breath here. Inhaling belly, ribs, and chest. Exhaling chest, ribs, and belly. Let's release down to the mat. Final last twist here. Left hand into the mat, lined up with the right foot. Right hand sweeps up towards the sky. Push hard through your left hand to open and expand through the chest. Beautiful. Both hands come down. I like to bring this right hand to the inside. And this is where we're going to move into left thigh. I'm lunging forward, lizard. From here, I'm going to start to bend my left knee, picking my foot up off the ground. For many of us, that's a good stretch. You can just stay right there like that. Some of you will try to get fancy with it. So I push into the mat with the left hand, keep the right knee nice and sturdy, and swing the right hand back to try to grab my left foot. Now that really increases the quad stretch. So if it's killer, no hand is necessary. If you are trying to get a big stretch today, then you might grasp on there. Now, since we're doing the right hand, let's try the left hand too. So I'm going to have to lift my hips up a little bit, drop the right hand down, and I'll try with the left. It's a lot more difficult with the left hand. There's no twist happening in the core or the hips. So that might be way more intense, and not everyone can get their heel to their glute like that. So just go as far as you can, and let's let it go. Lunging really deep. See how my left thigh is reaching for the floor. And we're gonna do the opposite now, so walk your hands back into your body. See how my right leg is lengthening? I can take my right hand back to the outside of the right leg and maybe even lift the right heel. Now this is known as half split. We don't want to be sitting down on the left calf at all. We want our tailbone to be reaching up towards the ceiling. That's where the hamstring begins to lengthen. That upward motion of the pelvis. All right, let's just flow this 3 times. As you inhale, come forward into lunge. As you exhale, roll back into half split. 2 more like that. Last time, inhaling to a lizard lunge. Exhaling to a half split. We'll come back to neutral position, bring the right hand to the inside, and swing that right knee back around, hands and knees. Left leg, we're going to lift the left leg up, and then with the left leg lifted, lengthen the leg, straight leg, and then bent leg. Straighten the leg, and bend the leg. Last time. Now here's our hip circles. We're going to turn our knee out to the side. Drop it down like it's hovering, and then lift it back up. Big hip circles. And let's go in the opposite direction. Nice. Alright, let's drop that left knee down. And we're going to send it forward into the low lunge on Janayasana. However it is you like to get there. I like to come up into a kneeling position first, and then I lunge with the left foot. Hands on the left knee, crown lifted to the sky. Inhale. Exhale and lunge. Maintaining the lunge, breathe. Belly, ribs and chest. Exhaling, chest, ribs, and belly. 2 more. Keeping the lunge, bring the hands to heart center. I know it's a long hold. If you're feeling some burning, that means you're building muscle. You're getting stronger. And so we'll send our weight back to the original lunge so that there's less tension, just kind of right in the middle, neutral. And we'll sweep our arms out and maybe up overhead. That's your choice, whatever is available in your arms. Maybe your fingers touch overhead, and we're going to lunge again. Really feeling the stretch in the right hip flexor, right thigh, as we're going to start to work into that quad. First, rotating the spine and pelvis. Hands come back to heart center, and we're reaching our right elbow for the top or outside of the left knee or thigh. You can stay nice and relaxed there, or you might be able to see it happen in my core as I add tension and twist. Don't forget to breathe as you're twisting. So we're not trying to hold the breath. We got to keep that energy, the wind flowing within us all the time. And we'll start to release down to the inside of your left foot. And let's do our final twist here. Right hand to the mat. Left hand reaches all the way up, opening your chest as much as you can. Spreading and expanding through the collarbones. And releasing back down, both hands now on the inside of that left foot. Now I'm going to start to lunge forward into that lizard type stretch. And if you want, so remember everything is always optional, you can start to add more stretch in your right thigh, your right quad, by just lifting your right foot up off the ground. Some people will be able to bend that knee a lot. Some people it will be very little. So you can stay just like that, holding for a couple of breaths. If you want to, you can sweep that left hand back and try to grab onto your right foot. It really increases the stretch though. So always being aware of what you can handle, what feels good today. Try it again another day and see if it changes. We'll try it on the other side too, but this side's more advanced. Left hand to the mat. I do fingertips, and then the right hand reaches back. So straps come in really handy with this. So if you have a strap, you can try to lasso your foot with it. Try to get that foot. So I give you plenty of time to find the right variation that works for you. Anything from here to here to here to reaching back is fine. Nice work, everyone. Let's release the leg, the right leg. And then we're going to start to walk the hands back. My left hand comes to the outside of my left leg. And then I'm going to start to lift my left toes. Now if you need to, you can physically adjust into that position by kicking out your left leg straight, bending the right knee, and starting to fold over top the left straight leg. Now you don't want to sink down, you want your tailbone to lift up. So it becomes an anterior pelvic tilt, which lengthens the left hamstring. Try to bow your head down a little bit. And for our last 3 breaths here, we'll flow. So as you inhale, come to lunge. As you exhale, come to the half split. Inhaling, rolling forward, lunging. Exhaling, rolling back, lifting toe, bowing into the posture. Last time. I'm going to roll back forward and bring the left hand to the inside. And however you get that left leg back behind you is the right way to do it. We'll get our hands back onto the mat, knees grounded, a cow pose, lift your tailbone, lift your head. A cat pose, round your back, look at your thighs. Another one like that. From here, tuck your toes and roll up into your first and your only downward dog today. Pedal it out, press your right heel down, then press your left heel down, back and forth a couple times. Looking back at your ankles, at your toes while you're here. Push through the mat. Don't let your head come back behind your arms. If that happens, it's hyperextension in the shoulder joints. Whenever you're ready, we'll drop down to hands and knees once again. And we're going to drop to one hip. Bring your legs in front. Our final seated pose before we do a little breath work is going to be butterfly with the feet together and knees apart. So again, remember not to compare yourself against the way my positions look. I've been practicing stretching for a really long time. I remember going to soccer practice and PE and practicing butterfly pose and being really proud of how low my knees could get to the floor when I was little. And now that I'm a little older, you know, they've lifted a little bit, but it's a pose that it lasts the test of time. So this could be a good posture for you. If you'd like to, you can start to lean into the pose a little bit, and that will increase the sensation that you feel, increase the tension. So we spend a lot of time in yoga with our knees externally rotated outward. So our next posture will be just a transitory pose, meaning it transitions you. And we'll just kind of rock our knees a little bit. So let's, when you're ready, it could be in now or it could be in 3 more breaths. We'll start to roll back up. Support yourself with your hands behind you. Bring your knees up, feet separated so that your feet aren't together like this. We want space. And then we'll rock our knees to the left and to the right. And see, this now is doing internal rotation. And we don't spend a lot of time doing internal rotation, so I think it's really good for us to practice it sometimes so that our body knows that it's capable of doing both. So this is a really nice way to just lubricate the knees, hips, and ankles. Low back a little bit. Alright, and before we lay down, as promised, we're going to do a little bit of breath work again to kind of calm the nervous system, because we've now moved all the molecules of our body again. So if you want to sit like this, you can. If you want to, you can sit with your legs straight out. And if you have something behind you, like a wall to sit on, you could totally be supported by a wall. This is known as a pranayama practice Viloma 2. So earlier we practiced the 3-part breath, which is a really flowing variation of Viloma 1. And so now we're going to reverse it. So Viloma 1 is filling up the chambers, the 3 triple burners, and then letting them out, flowing. Now Viloma 2 is the opposite. We're going to fill them up, flowing. And then we're going to exhale and release just the top chamber, and then a little bit more, just the second chamber, and then all the way for the 3rd chamber, and then fill it back up. So I will guide you. If you'd like to, you can come back to the Vayu mudra, which is where the index fingers tuck down and the thumbs smush it into the palm. You've got your middle, ring, and pinky finger extended. Now just be aware of the chambers of your torso. So we're going to slowly and fully bring all the breath in. So we're filling belly, ribs, and chest. Now with control, as you exhale, just kind of like, and then stop. And then a little bit more, and stop. And then all the way, stop, and then bring it all back in, inhaling. It's like when you let out a little bit of air from a balloon at a time. So we're going to exhale and stop, and a little bit more and stop, and a little bit more, all the way. Inhale, fill up belly, ribs, chest, all the way. Pause, exhale just a little bit, a little bit more, a little bit more. Inhale, fill it all up. Exhale, 2, 3, pause. 4, 5, 6, pause. Exhale, 7, 8, 9, all the way. Inhaling, all the way in, all the way up. Exhaling just to the 2nd middle burner. Exhale to the lower burner. Exhale all the way. Inhale, filling it all back up. Last time, exhale, stop and hold a little bit more, stop and hold a little bit more, and we'll bring it all back in. And then just breathe fluidly, out and in, just like we did the 3-part breath, inhaling for belly, ribs filling, chest filling, exhaling chest, ribs, and belly. Beautiful work, my friends. We're going to start our descension down to the ground. So make sure when you do this that you're laying on your yoga mat, or maybe you're not laying on a yoga mat. It's not really necessary. But we are going to do a couple last hip and low back stretches here. It's a sequence that I put together that works hamstrings, quads, hips, low back. So let's pull our right knee into the chest. Left leg is going to extend all the way down. Now if that hurts, then you can rebend your left knee, of course. We want it to be comfortable. Now I'm going to have you just massage, do circles with this right hip so that you're kind of circulating that hip joint. The ball in the socket, go both directions. Now our next pose is called Half Happy Baby. So beginners, you're going to slip your fingers right behind your right knee. just behind the right knee crease, and you're going to pull your right elbow back into the mat and try to lift your foot up to the ceiling. So knee is bent, but the leg is kind of lengthened. Now if you're a little bit more intermediate with your practice, you could totally reach your hand up to your ankle and then pull back. And if you are an advanced yogi who's been practicing a long time, then reach for your right big toe mound and then pull that right elbow and right knee back. So half happy baby. We're going to lay in a reclined pigeon next. So I'm just going to pass my right foot off into my left hand. And my right hand slips into the front area of my right knee. So now, right knee is pressing away as the left hand is pulling towards. So left hand pulling, right hand pushing. Opening up that right angle of the hip. Rock it out if you want to. And from there, we're moving into a twist. So I'm going to just cross that right leg all the way over, like I'm going to try to step down on the ground on the outside of my left side of my body. And then my left hand comes to my right thigh. Right hand is going to tee all the way out. I'm going to try to keep this right shoulder on the floor as I rotate my right knee over to the left. Now remember, it only goes as far as it goes, so don't force your body to go into any positions. Just allowing yourself to roll towards the left as you glance towards the right. So got a lot of oppositional balance going on there. Big breath in your twist. And we'll return back to the original position where our right foot is on the floor and our left foot is on the floor. Knees bent, feet flat. Reach up for your left knee and extend your right leg all the way out and down so that your right leg is straight. Now if that hurts, of course, you can re-bend your right knee so there's a little bit of bend there, and maybe even use a bolster underneath your knee. And from here we're just massaging our left hip into the joint. So the ball is being massaged into the socket on that left side. And then we're going to work into happy baby. So that means if you're a beginner, you're going to reach behind the knee crease with your left hand. If you're intermediate, you're going to reach for your calf or your ankle. And if you're advanced, you're going to reach for your big toe. And they're all doing the same thing. So it would be pulling the knee back to the outside edge of your left ribs. Happy baby. I often call it having baby jokingly, but you know, similar position there. And then we'll go into a pigeon. So I'm going to pass my left foot into my right hand. And then bring my left hand to the inside of my left knee. So now my left hand is pushing as my right hand is pulling. So be very gentle with that rotation, only going until you feel a stretch. And if you want to, you can add a little bit of rocking left and right. Finally here, going into the twist, I'm going to feed my left foot over onto my right thigh, maybe even off a little bit. So left foot towards the right. Right hand comes up to help that left knee. So now my right hand has my left knee. Left hand is going to tee all the way out, and I'm going to try to look at my left hand as my right draws the left knee over, so we're twisting towards the right. The knee is towards the right as you're glancing towards the left. Trying to breathe even while you're in this twisted position. And we'll start to slowly unwind. Bringing your feet back to the original position, feet flat, knees bent. And we'll start to pull both knees up into the chest, rocking right and left. Massage your low back into the floor. Now we're going to do an oppositional posture. So right now we're really cinching our hip flexors. So bring your feet back down to the floor. Push into your feet, lifting your hips for a bridge pose. And then slowly lower back down. And if you'd like to do that a couple more times, lifting into bridge to activate those hip flexors, please do. I like to do about 3 or 4 bridges to relax the back. Lowering the hips down to the ground. Allowing the shoulders to rest, so arranging the shoulders, arranging the hands out to the sides of the body, perhaps at a 45-degree angle. Maybe the knees need to stay bent with the feet flat, or you have a bolster available to bring under your knees. Traditionally, the Shavasana is done with the legs outstretched out to the outer lower edges of your yoga mat. The feet heavy so that they can just flop out to the sides with no tension in the entire leg. The right leg, the left leg. No tension in the hips at all, just resting heavy on the mat. No tension in the shoulders and arms, just resting. Checking in with your face, your head, your teeth, your jaw, your tongue. No tension there, just resting on the mat. By now, the mind begins to wander, so we'll gently guide it back to breathing in and filling up the belly and the ribs and the chest, and breathing out and releasing the chest and the ribs and the belly. A couple more breaths, just like that. You have my permission to stay exactly where you are, so if you need more time to just rest, then just stay in Shavasana. If it's time to shift your body's telling you it's time to move a little bit again, and maybe start rolling out your ankles and your wrists, softening your knees and your elbows, and perhaps rolling onto the side, whichever side that calls to you. And if you choose to roll to a side, stay there for at least 3 breaths so that you can really create some gratitude for your body, for this body, for the energy that this body expelled in the last hour, for the flexibility gained, the strength gained in the body. Gratitude. And so if you're still laying on your back or you're choosing to lay on your side, feel free to stay there. If you'd like to, you can certainly start to pick yourself up and push up into a seated position, kind of like you began. It's kind of nice to end your practice the same exact way that you began, so that you can tune in and see how things have changed, or how things have been awakened in your body. So let's take a couple last conscious deep breaths here just to become aware. How is your back? How do your hips feel? How do your legs feel? Are your knees doing okay? How about your shoulders and neck? Maybe give that a little bit of attention, just rolling out your head and your neck a little bit. Next week, that's where we'll focus, whether we're here or on, YouTube, Zoom, wherever it is. Next week we will focus on the upper body. I want to thank each of you so much for joining me here this morning, for being here virtually with me. It means the world to me. In yoga, we say the word namaste, which means the supreme sweetness and this divine light that exists within my own heart and soul honors and acknowledges the exact same light that exists within each one of you. I bow to that beam. It's inside of me, it's inside of you, and it's the same energy, the same light that pervades the entire universe, meaning we're all one. We need each other. Thank you so much, and shukriya. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you on the mat next time.